What if I told you there is a creature that does not attack, does not hunt, and does not kill? Because its job is far worse. In 1966, people in a small American town began seeing a tall, winged figure with glowing red eyes. It didn't scream, it didn't chase, it just watched. Days later, a bridge collapsed. 46 people died. Phones rang with voices that didn't sound human. Clocks stopped at the same time. Children drew the same creature before ever seeing it. And here's the terrifying part. This thing doesn't appear after disasters. It appears before them. Plane crashes, explosions, mass deaths, always the same red eyes, always watching. So the real question isn't what is the Mothman. The real question is, what happens when it stops appearing? No one in Point Pleasant ever forgot the sound. It wasn't a scream, it wasn't a cry. It was the sound of something massive beating the air like wings too heavy for the sky itself. The town sat quietly along the Ohio River, a place where nothing ever really happened. People locked their doors out of habit, not fear. Children rode bicycles until sunset. Police scanners stayed silent most nights. Until November 15th, 1966. That night, the dark came alive. 1. The first encounter. Roger Scarberry never believed in monsters. He was 24, recently married, and more concerned with paying bills than ghost stories. That night, he and his wife Linda were driving with another couple, Steve and Mary Millette, through an old abandoned area outside town known as the TNT Zone. Concrete igloos from a World War II munitions facility sat rotting in the woods like giant graves. The headlights cut through the trees. Then Linda screamed, "There, by the road!" Roger slammed the brakes. At first he thought it was a man. Then it stood up. What rose from the ground was over 6 feet tall, dark as wet asphalt, with wings folded against its body like a grotesque cloak. But it was the eyes. 2 glowing red circles, burning, not reflecting, light. The thing turned its head, slowly, and stared straight into them. Steve whispered, "That's not human." The creature spread its wings. They weren't feathered like a bird's. They looked wrong, leathery, jointed, and stretched too wide. The car engine roared as Roger hit the gas. In the rearview mirror, the creature took off. It didn't flap like a bird. It rose straight up, then followed them, at 90 miles per hour. Linda was crying hysterically. "It's chasing us!" Roger glanced back. The red eyes were still there, floating above the road, matching their speed. When they reached town limits, the thing veered away, disappearing into the black sky. The car rolled to a stop. No one spoke. Every single one of them knew the same thing. They had just seen something that should not exist. 2. The name the town would regret. The police didn't laugh. That's what terrified them most. Sheriff George Johnson listened carefully as the shaken group described what they saw. Red eyes, wings, human shape. Deputy Millard Halstead frowned. "I've heard of something like this," he said quietly. "What?" Roger asked. Halstead hesitated. "Some folks up north call it the Mothman." The name spread faster than fear. By morning, the town buzzed, and then the sightings multiplied. 3. It watches from the dark. 5 days later, a woman named Mrs. Ruth Foster called the police. Her voice trembled. "There's something outside my window." Officers arrived within minutes. They searched the yard. Nothing. As they were about to leave, one officer stopped. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "does it have red eyes?" She broke down crying. "Yes, it's standing on the roof." The officers looked up and saw it. Silhouetted against the moon, the creature crouched low, wings partially spread. It didn't attack. It didn't move. It simply watched. When one officer raised his shotgun, the thing leapt into the air and vanished. No footprints, no feathers, no explanation. 4. Nightmares spread like disease. Children began waking up screaming. Teachers reported students drawing the same figure, tall, winged, with burning red eyes. People reported strange phone calls, static-filled whispers, distorted voices that spoke nonsense words. Some heard warnings, others heard names. One man claimed the voice said, "Don't cross the bridge." No one understood what it meant. Not yet. 5. The men in black arrive. Unmarked black cars rolled into Point Pleasant. Men in dark suits questioned witnesses. They didn't show badges. They didn't give names. One woman later claimed a man visited her house and asked her to describe the creature. When she did, he smiled strangely. "That's not what you saw," he said. She insisted. His smile vanished. "You didn't see anything," he replied coldly. The next day, her phone stopped working. Her dog disappeared. Fear became permanent. 6. Something is coming. The Mothman sightings increased near bridges, rivers, and power lines. People felt watched, followed. Animals refused to go outside at night. Birds fell dead from the sky for no reason, and always, the eyes, red, unblinking, waiting. On December 15, 1967, exactly 13 months after the first sighting, the warnings made sense. The Silver Bridge collapsed. 46 people died. Witnesses swore they saw red eyes above the bridge moments before it fell. After that night, the Mothman vanished, but the fear didn't, because something doesn't warn you unless it knows what's coming. 7. The thing that doesn't hunt. If the Mothman was a predator, it would have killed. That was the first thing investigator Harold Keel realized. Predators stalk, predators attack, predators feed, but whatever this thing was, it never touched anyone. It only appeared. And it watched. Keel arrived in Point Pleasant in early 1967, months after the first sightings. He was a journalist by profession, but what drew him here went far beyond a story. He had received letters, hundreds of them. Letters from people who had seen the same thing, different states, different countries, but the same red eyes, the same overwhelming dread, the same feeling that reality itself had cracked open. Keel stayed at the Low Hotel. On his first night, the phone rang at exactly 2:33 a.m. He answered. Silence, then a voice. Not male, not female. "We are observing." The line went dead. 8. The calls that came from nowhere. Point Pleasant residents began reporting identical calls. The phones would ring once. If answered, there would be static, heavy, buzzing, almost painful. Then strange questions. "What is your name? What do you know about the winged one? Do you believe in time?" One man traced the call. The signal came from his own house. Another man swore the voice knew things no stranger should know, his childhood nickname, his dead brother's last words. When police tried to investigate, they found no records, no numbers, no source. It was as if the calls came from outside the system. 9. The night the creature came inside. Mrs. Ellen Baxter lived alone near the edge of town. She didn't believe in the Mothman until it stood in her hallway. She awoke to the sound of scraping, slow, deliberate. She reached for the lamp. The light revealed a towering shape crouched near the stairs. The wings were folded tightly, pressed against the walls. The eyes burned red, filling the room with a sick glow. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. It didn't blink. Ellen couldn't scream. She later said it felt like her mind had been turned off, like something else was in control. After several seconds, the thing turned its head and walked back into the darkness. No footprints, no marks, just the smell, like ozone and decay. She moved out the next day. She never slept indoors again. 10. Children see it. First, teachers noticed something disturbing. Children were seeing the Mothman before adults did. 8-year-old Tommy Evans told his mother a big bird man stood outside his bedroom window every night. When asked to draw it, His picture showed wings stretching beyond the page, and 2 red circles scratched so hard they tore the paper. Another child described it, floating near the river. "It's waiting," she said. "For what?" her teacher asked. The girl frowned. "For the noise." 11. Men who didn't understand. Being human, the men in black returned. This time witnesses described them as wrong. They asked basic questions, but didn't understand the answers. One man tried to drink water and nearly choked. Another stared at a pen as if it were unfamiliar technology. They smiled too long, blinked too little. One woman asked a visitor his name. He paused for several seconds. "I am Indrid Cold," he said carefully. He warned her not to dig further into the Mothman. "Some doors," he said, "should remain unobserved." That same night, her television exploded. 12. The creature that predicts death keel noticed a pattern. The Mothman appeared before disasters, bridge collapses, mine explosions, plane crashes, always beforehand, never after. It didn't cause tragedy. It announced it, like a shadow cast before the fall. In one report, a truck driver saw the creature standing on the roadside hours before a fatal accident. In another, witnesses saw it perched on a church days before a fire killed dozens. Keel wrote in his notes, "The Mothman is not an animal. It is not a monster. It is a warning." 13. The bridge was not the end. After the Silver Bridge collapse, the sightings stopped. The town tried to forget. But the Mothman didn't disappear. It spread. Sightings appeared in Russia, Germany, Japan. Always near tragedy, always silent, always watching. A witness in Chernobyl reported a winged figure weeks before the meltdown. A man in New York claimed he saw red eyes atop a tower in 2001. Authorities dismissed these claims, but survivors remembered. 14. Why it terrifies. Those who understand the most frightening theory isn't that the Mothman is evil. It's that it may be necessary, a cosmic alarm, a glitch in reality, something that exists to witness the moments when the world breaks. Because if something is watching, then something understands what's coming. And worse, it knows we can't stop it. 15. Indrid. Cold was not lying. People remembered his smile, not because it was friendly, because it was rehearsed. Those who met Indrid Cold described the same details: shiny black hair, pale skin, a metallic tone in his voice, and eyes that didn't reflect emotion. One witness asked him directly, "Are you human?" Indrid paused. "Yes," he said slowly, "but not as you understand it." He claimed to come from a place called Lanulos. No one could find it on any map. When asked about the Mothman, his tone changed. "It is not here for you," he said. "It is here for what follows you." 16. The nighttime slipped on. March 10, 1967, Point Pleasant experienced something worse than fear. It experienced time failure. At exactly 11:42 p.m., clocks stopped. Not some, all of them. Watches froze. Wall clocks died. Car dashboards went dark. For 13 minutes, the town existed outside time. People later reported missing moments, entire conversations erased, movements remembered, but never made. One man swore he saw the Mothman standing in the middle of the street, while everything else was frozen. Even the wind. When time resumed, the creature was gone. But the memory stayed. 17. It spoke to one man. The only person who claimed the Mothman spoke was a retired rail worker named Charles Rowan. He waited decades to tell his story. He said the creature appeared near the river, wings folded like a judge's robe. The eyes burned brighter than ever. Then it spoke, not with a mouth, inside his head. "This point collapses." Charles asked what it meant. The answer came instantly. Many points collapse, then silence. 2 weeks later, his wife died unexpectedly. He never returned to the river. 18. The drawings that shouldn't exist. After the bridge collapse, investigators found something disturbing. Sketches, hundreds of them. Children across different countries had drawn the same figure, same wingspan, same eye placement, same unnatural posture. Some drawings were dated years before the first official Mothman sighting. One was found in a 1920s school book, another in a destroyed building after a mine explosion. Always the same caption, written by different hands. The Watcher. 19. The Signal Theory. Scientists dismissed the creature, but one physicist didn't. Dr. Elaine Mercer proposed a theory that terrified everyone who read it. The Mothman was not a being. It was a signal-given form, a manifestation that appears when reality approaches a catastrophic failure, like a warning light on a machine too complex for humans to understand. Her final paper ended with a single sentence. If we are seeing it more often, it may be because collapses are increasing. She died in a car accident 3 days later. Witnesses reported red eyes near the crash site. 20. The places it cannot leave. The Mothman is always seen near thresholds, bridges, tunnels, borders, rivers, power stations. Places where one thing becomes another, where stress accumulates, where failure is inevitable. It doesn't cross, it waits, because it isn't meant to survive the collapse, only to observe it. 21. You have been closer than you think. People who research the Mothman long enough report something terrifying. They begin to dream about it, not chasing them, not attacking, just standing there, watching. Some wake up with nosebleeds, others lose track of days. A few report seeing red reflections in dark windows. The theory is simple. Once you notice it, it notices you. 22. The last known warning. In 2019, a security guard in an industrial zone reported a winged figure standing atop a cooling tower. He radioed it in, said it felt like the air was vibrating. 3 days later, an explosion killed 17 workers. The footage vanished. The guard quit. He refuses to speak. But his final report contained one line. It looked at me like I already knew. 23. The places where it never appears. Not every disaster has a warning. That was the detail no one wanted to talk about. Earthquakes that struck without signs, fires that erupted with no witnesses, entire towns erased overnight. No red eyes, no wings, no watcher, which raised a horrifying question. What kind of disaster doesn't deserve a warning? 24. The last classified footage. In 2003, a power facility camera recorded something never meant for the public. The footage was locked away, but a single technician described it before disappearing from records. The video showed a winged figure standing directly in front of the camera. Not on a roof, not in the distance, right there. The eyes did not glow. They were dark, dead, as if the thing itself was afraid. Behind it, alarms began to scream. The footage cut out moments before a containment failure that killed dozens. The creature was never seen again at that site. 25. The truth no one wanted. Keel's final notes were discovered after his death. They weren't about the Mothman. They were about us. He concluded that the creature appeared only when humans were capable of understanding the warning. When there was still a chance, someone might listen. Bridges can be closed, mines can be evacuated, flights can be grounded. But some collapses, they are too large, too deep, too inevitable. And when that happens, the Mothman does not come. 26. The day point. Pleasant was tested. Again. Decades after the bridge collapse, the town gathered for a memorial. Candles flickered. The river flowed quietly. Then someone screamed. On the far side of the water, standing perfectly still, was a tall figure, wings folded, eyes burning red, watching the crowd. Phones came out, cameras pointed. For the first time in history, the Mothman allowed itself to be seen by hundreds. Then it turned and walked away. Nothing happened that night. No collapse, no tragedy, just silence, as if The warning had already been delivered. 27. The theory that ends all comfort. A final theory circulates among those who study the phenomenon too deeply. The Mothman isn't warning us about disasters. It's warning us about transitions, moments when the world changes permanently. After the bridge collapse, regulations changed. After other sightings, history shifted. The creature doesn't appear before death. It appears before the end of how things used to be, which means, if sightings ever stop entirely, the transition will be absolute. 28. Why you've never seen it, clearly. No photograph of the Mothman is sharp. No video is clean. That isn't coincidence. Witnesses say when they tried to focus on it, their vision blurred, as if the human brain refuses to fully process what it's seeing. One neurologist described it simply. Some things exist too close to the edge of perception. Seeing them clearly would break something inside us. 29. It is still here. People still report it. Near collapsing infrastructure, near failing systems, near places under unbearable stress. Sometimes it's mistaken for a drone, sometimes for a bird, sometimes for nothing at all. But the feeling is always the same, that heavy pressure, that certainty, that sense of being observed at the wrong moment. 30. The final warning. The most chilling statement ever recorded about the Mothman came from a man who saw it twice. Once before a disaster, once years later. He said the second time was worse. Why? He was asked. Because the first time, it was looking past me. The second time, it was looking at us. Epilogue. If you ever find yourself near a bridge late at night, and the air feels wrong, and everything suddenly goes quiet, don't look for red eyes. If the Mothman is there, it's already too late to misunderstand why.